Two, one. Welcome to Ariel's Town Halls, and today we're bringing back up the subject of the internal locus of control. So, a lot of times in life, it feels like that when we're very young, sometimes it's like we don't really know much about the world, so but at the same time we're not thinking about at a very young age, like, how do other people perceive us in their eyes, right? That kind of sense. It's like, you're just a kid growing up, and you're just thinking to yourself, how can I just have fun? How can I just enjoy things? And all that's really going on in your head is just like this carefree idea of just exploring what's around you, walking to things, talking to people, seeing, what you can get your hands on, and figuring things out and just discovering. And it's not until later in your life that something called a reputation comes up, right? When you're really really young, you're not thinking about your reputation. You're just thinking about, like, what's the world that I'm in? How do I enjoy myself? What can I do? And these are the people I like being around. These are the things that I enjoy, and this is how I enjoy with being with the people and doing the activities. And then a little bit later, in your teenage and high school years, like, the whole idea of, oh, now I'm going to have a reputation, and is this reputation, in the way that other people perceive me, going to be good or bad, and what's going to come out of that reputation. But then, when it becomes toxic, this idea of our reputation is when we think about, like, okay, um, now I'm going to let the reputation define me and have the ways of other people perceiving and seeing me define me. And then when you focus on replacing your reputation with your identity, and when you have a vision of where you should be and reality doesn't match up with that vision, you start little by little losing your internal locus of control. And I think it's not only that the that or even worse, you really lose your internal locus of control is when you're living out a vision that either society, your friends, or your family have for you, but it's not your vision, right? Like, this vision was artificially created by a society that may constantly tell you that you need to consume more, and you need to be richer, and you need to buy all of the fancy toys for your life, but that's never really what you wanted. But if it actually is what you wanted, you're not losing your internal locus of control. But if it isn't what you wanted, you are. So with that being said, I think, yeah, go ahead. You can kind of expand on that.
Yeah, bro. Honestly, like I'm just I'm really trying to motivate people more because just like we were talking about in Doc space, like I'm about to just start calling you Doc on God. But just like we were talking about in Doc space, you know, it's just how people are raised. It's like embedded in their mind to be a certain way. So, like, the more that you are being, I think Venus touched on this too, but the more you're being compassionate to yourself, the more other people will follow suit. So if you want to have your own internal locus of control, you got to focus on that so that other people will focus on that as well. And I think that's really what I'm about to work on. It's just like try to motivate people more often. And it's crazy because, when you are being this positive person, that's not going to make everybody want to be positive. You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna motivate everybody. So you just have to just pick and choose and just be careful with who you know what I'm saying, like expand with, and who you build with and things like that.
Right. And I will also just make a caveat, and this is for all everybody here. The two topics we're going to stay away from are politics and religion. So let's please keep that in mind and not go on tangents that are off topic. So with that being said, I really think that like this is what I tell myself. I tell myself this: if I applied for those two jobs that I got, and I successfully got those jobs that I applied for, even if I were to be rejected from both jobs that I applied for, I wouldn't add in like insult to insult. The first insult would have been not being hired and not hearing back, but the second insult would be to go around in my head thinking to myself that I'm less than. You know what I mean? So the one thing that you can't do to yourself, because I've been, you know, there was a time in my life when in eighth grade that I made a speech that actually got all the students all razzled up about like why nothing is changing and how we need to better the school and how the teachers aren't paying attention. So that imprint that it made in my mind was that, oh, like I'm going to become like a rich and famous public speaker that's going to change the systems like around the world, right? That's what I had in my head. And so little by little, when I saw that I didn't have a way to carry out that vision, I started telling myself, well, like, why should I be happy until like I achieved that vision for myself? But then I told myself, well, this is kind of messing me up for my life in the moment. So I said a strong internal locus of control is this, because even though I love public speaking and I love presenting and I love, doing all of these things, it doesn't mean that like I'm less than if I don't get validation from others. Because anyone who's a celebrity, anyone who's famous, and anyone like making money through the way that the public perceives them, it's really hard for them to have an internal locus of control. So what I started saying to myself for my internal locus control is that I'm gonna I'm I'm not look, I'm gonna choose happiness instead of thinking when people finally validate me, if they see me as X through Y, I will be happy. And you see, so many people, because of so many influences in their lives, they wait and they say, once people see me as, a good, let's make something up, as a good construction worker through this management firm, or a good or a good crypto trader through crypto trading, then I'll be happy. Once I finally get that recognition from people and I finally, do that thing, and people are finally validating me and enjoying my company and inviting for me to these things, I will be happy. And then I think to myself, well, who put that into law? Why can't we just validate ourselves instead of waiting for others to do it for us? Now that's a very powerful internal locus of control. Yeah. So that's it. And I also wrote some more notes around here. I said that, you know sometimes there's this toxic voice in your head that nags at you, and it always wants more, and it like doesn't accept you until, and that voice could just come from years of not being accepted, trauma, and gaslighting. And it may be very well that throughout your life you've had these like unrealistic expectations put on you from those that you may not even know what advantages that they had in the past. And you know, a lot of times it's like I grew up in a place like Beverly Hills, Hollywood, Bel Air, you know, all these places. And you grow up kind of watching these movies of people being successful, people, you know, making a whole bunch of money, and people
Down the
finally
road.
finding their true love, and, you know, all that stuff. Just give me 1 minute. I'll get to you in a minute. And then all of a sudden, it's like, why am I not there? Right. And then that messes with your internal self locus of control when you're like, why? But you don't know what kind of advantages these people had, what kind of like money was backing them, or what kind of luck that they fell into to have these things, or if they had like an uncle or a friend who hit it big, or that one conversation. But then you have other people telling you, why aren't you there yet? And you have that voice in your head kind of nagging you and telling you, why aren't you there yet? And then your internal self locus of control can come in and say like, well, maybe I didn't even really want to be there, and maybe the only thing that I really wanted was to be among a group of like-minded people who can understand me and validate me for who I am, and I don't need to be there with the cars or the houses or this or that, right? So with that, I think I have a newcomer in here. We'll go to, let's call you most active. I think you wanted to speak.
Yeah, so if you could just give me about maybe 5 seconds to speak. You know, it's like the whole thing is, um, I get what you're saying about you need to be in that position. I get what that means. It's a word I like to uh, correlate with orientation. So you say you're oriented into it. Somebody understands, I don't know, call it global positioning systems. It's like if you don't have an understanding of a GPS, if you can read a GPS, you can rock this world. Like it's like if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. If you can read a GPS, you don't have nothing to worry about. Like it's really that simple. And it is like I've been telling people, like I've tweeted it out, but the whole thing is every generation has it a little bit easier. And I think that's what we don't really get our point across is because we forget that like, we blame the history, but it's not the history. It's more about the future. And I'm gonna leave it there.
Okay. Yes. So, well, I don't know. Well, I don't know about that. I think every generation has different and unique challenges that previous generations may or may not have had. So, with that, I'll go to Bryce. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know. Good talk. Good topic. We talked about it before. Yeah, this is something I think about a lot, and I always try to mix in some of these group chats any reference I can to Stoicism because I really dig that philosophy, and they're all about internal locus of control, and that the things that happen outside of you, you absolutely can't control. So in their philosophy, they think, hey, then I'm not going to worry about anything external, and I'm not going to make judgments about anything external. Now, do these things have effects on you? They can, but the only thing that you can truly control is how you respond to stimulus around you, right? So the only thing you have to take ownership is of your own actions. How you react to something that happens to you is one thing, and then your plan is another thing. So for an example, like you're playing golf. I don't know if anybody in here's played golf before, but it's like you're not, if you have an internal locus of control, you're thinking about how am I executing each shot? You're not worried about your opponent, right? You're not worried about your opponent's score, what he's doing. He's not putting any pressure on you to make more shots or whatever, because as long as you're executing your shot, you get your process down, you perfect your process, then everything else is going to fall in line. Why do I have to worry about things that I can't control? What I can control, my own practice and my golf swing. I can practice my shots, try different clubs, try different, when the conditions change, try different ways of attacking. But it's like, it's me versus my process. It's not anything else external to me. And it's like, if you can really buy into that, it's really powerful because outcomes will vary, right? It's like, you can't hang your hat on like, well, I won, so I'm good. Sometimes people get lucky, right? And you're just bringing that up a few minutes ago. is that you don't understand other people's circumstances. Maybe they have benefits. Maybe they have somebody who got them in, who they're not that talented, but they got some clout or something like that. You know what? Don't worry about it. I mean, I think we spend a whole lot of time worrying about that stuff. It's like, that's not your situation. That's really not your business. Handle your own business. So for me, it's like, another good example is like playing cards, right? If you're playing poker perfectly, if you're playing your hand to the maximum, then you take pride in that. If you're doing that correctly, you're going to end up winning more often than not because you're good at it. But sometimes you will lose. So you have to be able to accept that sometimes outcomes don't always match your input, and your input is your internal locus of control, right? You control what you can do, you be good at that, and let the chips fall where they may.
Right. And you know what I love about the nature of when you live life outside of sometimes the schooling system and even outside of the kind of like career system, and you have a little bit of extra cushion to just meet all your basic needs, is that you can experiment with life. And I think for me, the kind of experiments that I've had doing in life with these Twitter spaces and with all these other stuff is that if you have a really weak locus of control and a job goes sideways or a project goes sideways or something like that goes sideways, it doesn't matter because you've gained, like if you've ever played those RPGs, you've gained those experience points. You at least you have a little bit of experience, and then you can jot down like, okay, why did it screw up, right? And this is why it screwed up. So let me go back to that place where it screwed up and let me just tweak it a little bit here and there. And then the more times you do that, the more good you become at something. So why do people not do this? Although it's the easiest thing to do in the world, is because of their weak internal locus of control. Because what they're thinking is that, no, I can't screw up, because if I screw up, people are going to think X about me. Well, you know what's the funny thing is, people are going to think that X about you at any given time, at any given moment. You're walking down the street, random people are thinking a whole bunch of random X's about you because of the clothes you wear, because of the way you talk, because of the things you do, all that stuff. If you try to control that stuff, you'd lose your mind. You'd go batshit insane. Now, if you're not looking at that stuff and you're like, I don't, they can think whatever X about me their heart desires, but I'm going to stick to this idea or project that I have. So even if I mess up and even if I fail, I can learn from those failures and I can learn. It's like you're pretty much invincible, right? Because you're not letting their thoughts control and manipulate you. And then you're not letting their words control and manipulate to you. And especially now, it's very hard if they have control over financial resources, if you're in a shared kind of living situation with them and you can't get away from them. Those are caveats. But anything other than that, who cares? Because you know what you've been through. You've known what you've done for yourself, and you know the kind of like the passion that you put into what you do. And with that being said, also remember that you'll have times when you totally kind of lose it and you're out of control, but your equilibrium would eventually come back. Because the times that I see that it's the hardest to have a strong internal locus of control is when you did your part in what you were supposed to do. You made the phone call, you made the reservation, you called and you said, "Hey, are you going to be helping me coming at here at this time?" I'll tell you what's going on in my life. And I'm not afraid, like the bathroom in our guest room is messed up, and also we have to replace our microwave. And so when I'm calling the plumber and he's not answering and he's always pushing it off, I'm not getting mad, although it's frustrating because it's like I only have control in like saying, "Hey, come over." I don't have control in whether he's going to respond or not, right? And sometimes you do lose your cool, but in the moments that you lose your cool, what I find out is if you don't concentrate on that moment, eventually your internal locus of control is going to come back, and you're also going to have other chances to do those things that messed up in the past. Because the last time I had the space on the internal locus of control, I wasn't recording it because I thought that the data wouldn't show up if I recorded it. Now, when I went back into the data, I saw that recorded spaces also show up in your data. So, the best thing about this experimentation idea and this internal locus of control idea is that you don't need to lose your mind when you do lose something or something gets messed up, because you know that that's not going to serve you. What's going to serve you more is that you created whatever it was in the past and you know you can replicate it. And when you know that you can replicate outcomes, you're going to be less of a hoarder. You're going to be less of a person that wants to stick to some outcome you had in the past because you know that outcomes can be replicated. Yeah. So anyway, anybody want to talk about who's in here, like what they've learned so far, or maybe what their thoughts or what they have a problem with or anything? Feel free.
I'm
Oh,
just,
for
bro.
sure.
I'm realizing that a lot of people have major insecurities, and that's why they're not able to tap into their internal locus of control. Because if you do not have control over yourself, if you're not controlling yourself, then other people are controlling you. Period.
Right.
Bottom line. And when people see you as somebody that can be controlled, they're gonna do whatever they want to you, whatever, whenever, however. That's just the way that the world works. So that's kind of goes back to what I was saying is I'm gonna try to motivate people more this year. I'm gonna do less for people, but I'm gonna show people, I'm gonna lead by example and show people that they can do more for themselves. And I'm gonna do it in a positive manner so that they have the strength to like stand up for themselves as well. Because I believe the world will be a better place if we can motivate each other in that sense.
100%. Pops, do you want to say something?
Yeah, man, and go. That was well said right there, man. Like to rebound that, um, definitely sounded like my experience because when I was younger, around like 16, 17, um, my internal locus of control was literally non-existent. Like when I tell, like I'll keep it 100, yo. I was a fucking yes man, people pleaser, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a producer. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta service people type shit. You know what I mean? But what I learned as I get older now I'm in my 20s now. I'm turning 22 next month. What I pretty much learned is like, yo, you could be nice and still take no shit. You know what I mean? And if somebody try to play you, people like don't worry. Like the creator won't go let you know. You know what I'm saying? Your mind is going to let you know the more positive that you be, and the more that you move with love.
100%. I can relate to that a little bit because I come from a parent that's a very big people pleaser, and like what Goat just said, that is corporate America. That kind of thing about like they know that they can control you. Because I used to think that I'm going to be loyal to people, I'm going to be nice to people just by default, and I'll just automatically get that back from them. I grew up that way. I was never a person to want to create a conflict or to ruffle feathers. etc. But then like it started messing with my internal locus of control when I thought, I'm a nice person, these people aren't nice back, why aren't they getting punished? I used to think like that. I'm like, there's got to be a way to punish these people. There's got to be a way to like give these people a taste of their own medicine, to show these people that, you know, this is not okay. But what I started learning is that when I started focusing on how is it that these people can be punished, or how they can learn that it's not okay, I started losing my internal locus of control when I saw that all the liars and the backstabbers and the cheaters and the hypocrites were actually getting away with everything they were doing. And it started kind of hurting me on the inside, because I was like, wait a minute, this isn't fair. The world isn't fair. So then what I started doing is like, why am I even thinking about them? Because I'm losing my power. I'm losing my autonomy. What I'm going to see is I'm just going to strategize what the best way is for me to get to where I'm going to, where I want to go. I'm going to make friends as like-minded people, because I can't control, even though like it like burns me up and I want to lose my mind if these backstabbers, liars, cheaters, and hypocrites get punished. I cannot control that. But what I can control is if I want to expose myself to them. What I can control is like, what kind of boundaries can I make from these people? What kind of behaviors can I see in these people, so I know to steer clear, or so I know just not to get involved in that mess. And I recognize when they're trying to do this, and I get out of the situation as quick as possible. So that's really helped with my internal locus of control. Go ahead, Pops.
Yeah, sorry about that. Got a call off a fan. But anyway, yeah, that was a very great point of what you just said when it comes to just getting angry because people aren't doing good deeds and moving with love, you know, or moving in a positive light, right? And granted, it's like, but that's life either way, you know what I mean? When it comes to principles and lifestyle, the lifestyle doesn't matter, but if someone already got the principles, whatever they do is what they do. Like, they can pretty much do whatever they want after that. But pretty much what I'm gonna say here is and what I'm gonna state is, don't be like those people. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You gotta be more positive, be more of a positive version with that. Pretty
Yeah,
much be as
100%.
attentive as aware as possible.
Yeah, don't be like those people, because eventually also you think that you look at these people and these people aren't being punished, but you never know what's happening like inside of their lives, as opposed to like the front that they put on. And with that, I'm going to go to Bryce.
Yeah, and again, I would say, you know, in the past, so you didn't have an internal locus of control, right? Because like what I was saying before is that even worrying about somebody else, like forget that, okay, this guy's getting something that I think I should be getting. Okay. So already you're distracted, right? By that point. And then you take it a step further to like, this isn't fair. So now we go into this circle of fairness that you're wrestling with. And then it's like, well, this person needs to be punished. Now, depending on the type of person you are, and what type of power you have over the situation, you might feel inclined to get some sort of retribution. So you see how you go down this sinkhole, and it's like you can just deflect that immediately and say, I'm not going to worry about those outcomes. Of course, you have your goals, you have your hopes, you have your desires, but your power, your investment is in yourself, in your process and your execution. Put all your chips right there. Now, look, there's going to be times in your life where, like, outcomes, I used to think the ends justified the means, right? But I've changed my mind now. I over time, I've slowly changed my mind. There are times when, outputs do matter, don't get me wrong. But it's like, for the most part, in most things you do in your life, you are way better off, in my experience. I'm an older guy now. I'm in my later 40s, right? It's like you're better off just having principles and values and virtues, a good work ethic, be good at what you do, and just invest your time and energy. All your chips go into your process. Screw everything else outside of you, because you can't control it. And even if you do try to control it, you may fuck it up worse when you try to get involved. And it's like, why make all these judgment values and try to figure out somebody's what's going through their mind? And you know what? Just say, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to think about it seriously. And I know that's easier said than done. It's taken me years to do that, but I literally don't give a shit now. It's like, if there's a person outside of me that isn't close to me, who isn't my inner circle, who I don't have some sort of relationship or a connection with, business relationship that matters, I don't wish any harm upon them. But if they do things and they get over, like they win at something, or I get beat out or something like that, I'm gonna go. I'll have that little moment of disappointment or whatever, and then I just go right back into my own process, because I trust myself, and I judge myself based on how I respond to things, not what happens to me from the outside.
Right. Freedom is the in between the stimulus and the response. That's what it is.
Yeah,
right?
and that is powerful, man, because everybody's
Right.
trying to control. We're all trying to control shit. Okay, that's just human nature. We're all trying to control outcomes. What you have to come to a conclusion is that, like, there's so much shit that's just out of your control. You can do everything right and still not get the outcome you want. But you know what? There is value in still doing it right, and eventually, over the long haul, you pay out.
Exactly. And the last thing that you want is that you did everything right and you didn't get what you want, and then you added more injury to yourself by creating a voice that's like insulting you and attacking you inside of your own head. Right? That's like one of the worst things ever. So you, instead of having that voice, have the voice that says like, you're fine. Don't don't listen to the negative energy, basically. And with that, I'll go to Azur, because you had your hand up.
No, it's okay. I've changed my mind. I'm just going to sit and listen. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, it's nice to get people to participate, but yeah.
Yeah. And one other thing you meant, just real quickly, because you just mentioned it, it's like, it's two things, right? It's not accepting the negative energy that comes, but sometimes there'll be people external to you, or situations that'll provide you false positives, right? They'll blow smoke up your skirt, give you a big head, or lead you down another path, because that's another way of manipulation, right? It's
Right.
like there's direct negativity, and then there's over positivity. So what I'm saying is, you just throw up that shield, you have a heavy filter around things outside of your person, and put all the rest of your energy into what you do, your process, your thoughts, your work habits, all that type of stuff. That's where you have, because you have total control over that. Total control.
Right. So that's the thing. Yeah, it like amazes me, and then it's like, I think so much of this depression and anxiety and hopelessness comes from social media completely just demolishing people's internal locus of control, because they look at, people's highlight reels on social media and compare it to their own lives, and that's what does it. Yeah, go ahead, Pops.
That is so true, because I too was addicted to Instagram, like one time, like a while, like shit. Still, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're still fighting it. I mean, not really fighting it, but we gotta ignore it. You feel me? But like, yeah, man. The more you get into that rabbit hole of just looking at people with the filters or whatnot, like, the more you get into that, the more it pretty much reverse engineers your brain into thinking, okay, everybody looks like that. If I go out, if I step outside, like, but you're not really going outside though. You know, it pretty much causes you. It has deep causes and deep roots within that we know we're in, but we don't know that we're in. You know.
Right. Yeah. That you see, that's the thing, no, but but as long as Azure, you don't think that I was being like a little bit rude by not calling on you when you did have your hand up, because I just wanted to get a thought out.
Oh no, not at all. Sorry, I'm full of cold, so and I know you're recording this. Bear with me a sec. But no, it's quite interesting just listening. I think sometimes you just, I mean, everybody's got very valid points, and excuse me one second. Sorry. And I think you just got to be the best version of yourself. You can do, you know, Barbecue had some good points. Goat had some good points, and Pops and what have you. So, I mean, as you get older, you realise people aren't who they say they are, even, you know, to your face. I mean, I've realised that. So, you know, and it's a tough old world out there sometimes, and it's not very nice. And like I say, just be you, and if that version's you, and a lot of the time it's their problem. And as for social media, yes, agreed, 100%. You know, it can absolutely destroy somebody. I know how I felt at times. When you scroll through those reels, and I think with Pops, you know, he's saying he was a bit addicted to Instagram and stuff, and some parts of social media is good, and like anything in life, it's just having the correct dosage of it, if that makes sense, and not too much of it. And you know, some of it can be quite motivating, other times it can be quite demotivating and a bit depressing. And I think when you're already in a low mood, a lot of people will turn to social media they think it cheers them up. In actual fact, what it does, I think it can hold you back a little bit. And you know, it kind of stops you from moving forward and getting yourself out of this rabbit hole, as everybody keeps saying, you know, and progressing in your life, and holding you back.
Oh, 100%. And you see, like you know that that's so good, like everything you said, because like sometimes it's like we have these things in our head that it's like when people don't want to speak, or they go down to listener, or like something like that. And then it's like, we think to ourselves sometimes, it's like, did I offend them, or did I bother them? And like that's not even what's going through their head, of like, did you you didn't offend them, or you didn't bother them. And then sometimes when people sometimes do say that, hey, like, you really offended me, or you really like bothered me, and then we just want to and then sometimes we want to find out, like, the reason why, or something like that, or like jump in. And then it's kind of like, wait a minute though, like, the thing that I find and that I see is, like, if you really know that your intent wasn't there to harm another person or to offend another person, and but you get stuck on the fact that they feel that they were offended and they were harmed, then I think you're doing yourself a disservice, right? And we see it so many times, and it's like things. So Azur, I'm so glad you said what you said, and like all that stuff, because they were all points. Because like you had a cold and you had a cough, and all of that stuff, but it was for that reason, that like that's what it was. And then I was thinking to myself here in my head, like, it was like, you probably what you may have been thinking is like, hey, I've had my hand up for a while, and then like you didn't call on me. And it's so funny how, like, sometimes like that can go through our heads when it's not that. And and even if that is the way that you felt, like you had your hand up for like a while, and I didn't call on you because I was a little busy. And then I spent my time like 3 minutes after the space thinking about that. it's like I can't control that, even if you did feel like that. So that's also part of it.
No offense taken. I know other people were speaking, and I think, I'm old enough to wait my turn, but
Right.
I'm just not feeling 100% today. So I was like, oh, I'll just go back to sitting and listening. So it was nothing personal. People do change their mind, and I think sometimes with people as well,
Right.
because other people go on to different topics, so you lose your you
Right.
kind of
Right.
lose what you want to say.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
A hundred
no
percent.
offense. Don't take offense. Don't
Yeah,
take
yeah,
offense.
no, for
No.
no, not at all. But I'm saying that it's is part of the subject of the internal locus of control. That it's
Yeah.
like, oh, it like something. It's like I wouldn't have, like, and the thing is because I can't control other people's like minds and thoughts and ideas and stuff like that. Yeah, cool. Yeah. So with that, I'll go to Bryce. Go
No,
ahead.
no, no. No, this little simple thing that happened is a good exercise. Now think about it, right? She raised her hand, and then it came down, right? You noticed that, so it triggered something in your head, like, okay, why did that happen? Oh my gosh! And then the type of person you are, you're like, well, I hope she's not offended. Now, here's where your internal locus of control comes. Now, she could have been offended. You don't know, right? So, but you don't want to project that. So what you said is, hey, in case this is a problem, you immediately got on top of it and you said, hey, you pointed her out. You said, hey, I didn't mean to not call on you. If you had something to say, please come up, or please don't be offended. That's not what I'm trying to project. So you made it clear. You took ownership that, hey, I'm trying to be friendly. You're welcome. I apologize. And now you're going to remember that next time she comes in the room, you're going to be quickly on her hand, right? And she responded by saying, hey, it's not a problem. Now, if you hadn't done anything, right? If you hadn't done anything, you could have carried that on with you. That could have been something. I don't know what type of person you are in that sense. So maybe that bothers you for few minutes after the thing. Maybe it bothers you for days or weeks, or you think, oh, I am an asshole. That reminds me that somebody told me I ignored them. It starts this cascade of stuff because in this other situation, you would not have addressed it, but you did. She responded. You got some feedback. You cleared it up. Everything's good. Now she could have continued. She could have stayed. She could have said, "I am offended, and you're an asshole," or something like that. And maybe you make some other attempts. You take some control and say, "Hey, I didn't mean that, but please don't take it that way. I hope you don't have any hard feelings." She could just say, "Screw you," and be gone forever, right? But you can't control that. So, but you did what you could. You tried to clear it. You had a problem. You took action. You tried to clear it up. And however she responded is what it is. But thankfully, she responded in a good way, and now things are great.
Right, exactly. And that I think that's where we fall into so many traps that we're like, well, I'm frustrated because you're frustrated. I'm not happy because you're not happy. But it's like whether you're frustrated or unhappy or jumping for joy or down in the dumps, like what who the hell am I to control that, right? So that's like not having a strong internal locus of control is like you're trying to regulate everybody's moods because you feel that you should have that role of like I'm going to, like, it's my job to make sure that people are feeling good, but it's like, no, that's not my job. And my job is to take care of me first, is to take care of my mind and my happiness and all that stuff. And when I have that in order, I can probably go help others. But the thing is that if I'm trying my best to clear something up or to help someone and it's not appreciated and they're pushing me away and stuff like that, I'm not going to go home at the end of the day and let that eat me up, because then I have no control over that.
Right, right. That's exactly what I mean. Yeah, you took some action, and regardless, whatever way it took, you don't have to own that. Like, she's entitled, or anybody's entitled to their own feelings. Maybe they're having a bad day or something like that. You can't just micromanage everybody else's actions, right? In a way, you're trying to
Right.
manipulate them. You're trying to manipulate the
Oh
outcome, and it's
God,
just like, don't do it. Just
I,
don't put your
I
head there.
see.
It's
Yeah,
hard. It's hard
I
though.
I see so many times of like, this is the worst with parents sometimes, of like trying to micromanage like their kids' behavior and everything like that. And just, like the worst thing that I see is that when you have a shy person at a party, and then the person at the party who's like related to them is telling them like, go talk more, go do this, don't be on your phone, don't do that. It's like none of your goddamn business. It's like you're trying to project, your reputation through like your kids or your brothers or your sisters and stuff like that, and then you're just going to end up feeling miserable, right? Not only are you going to make the person who doesn't want to be controlled by you miserable, but you're going to make yourself miserable too.
Yeah, that's another interesting thing is like there's certain power dynamics there, right? Like between a parent and their kid, and so the outcomes and things can be a little odd. But just think of like your boss, like a employer-employee relationship too, right? It's like the ones that I've always respected the most, and parents too, not just my own or others that I've seen growing up, is the ones that were like firm and they had certain values and ideas about things, and they were never mean, but they were firm, right? It's like, hey, this is what's going on, and I don't want you to do this, or not in this house, you're not going to do that. And as long as they're not mean about it, but they stick to it. And even when the kid cries or does whatever, or the employee throws a tantrum or is upset, it's like, hey, as long as they're fair, they're open and communicable, but they stick to their principles, you can respect that, right? I respect that, and eventually you really learn to appreciate people like that. So they're not being. My point was, they're not changing themselves to affect the outcome, right? Whether I'm a kid and I'm unhappy with the rules or whatever is doesn't matter, right? They're continuing to execute and be consistent in a fair and decent way, but they're just like, hey, you imagine if every parent who was like completely distraught every time the kid threw a tantrum because they didn't like a rule, they would never get anything done. They would be constantly distraught because kids are always trying to emotionally change things, right? So it's like, it's knowing knowing what you control, being consistent, and it's just sticking with your process.
Mm-hmm. It is, and it's liberation when you don't like fall for manipulation, and you don't fall for someone's expectations of you, and you don't suck in someone's expectation, like my mother's expectation for me to constantly like go into a program. I mean, like, I've been through so many programs. I've been through community college, university, a whole digital learning academy, this, that, and the other thing. And I just don't feel like I want to go through this thing anymore and then come up on the other side with nothing to show for it. And then even when we went to that therapist and he said, no, a program is not a magic bullet. It's not a thing that's going to lead to the promised land. She was still obsessed about it. Like we lose this internal locus of control when we have these thoughts that something is going to be the magic bullet and stuff like that. And it's like, no, like the thing is that these magic bullets don't exist. And the more you obsess over him and the more frustrated you are that they're not like an option, then the more that you're just going to be like frustrating yourself. It's so liberating to have this mindset of, I know who I am and I'm headed in a certain direction, but if from day to day, however far I am from that or however near I am to that doesn't define me as a human being.
Yeah, but like you're an adult now, right? And I know this is tough, and I mean I've struggled with my parents too, even in their advanced age. It's like they're always parents, man. I don't care if you're 17 or 47. They're still going to treat you similarly in some respects. I'm just preparing people for that. Others in the room who may be a little younger, it was not going to change in a significant way. They might give you a little bit of levity, right? Or not levity, but a little bit of slack, right? but for the most part, they're still your mom and your pops. And so they're going to treat you as the kid, even though you're older. They still see you as kind of that young kid. So for you, Ariel, I think in this situation, the challenge is to say to your mom, say, hey, I respect where you're coming from, and just be confident and secure in yourself. Say, hey, I'm a grown man. I'm a college grad. I got my thing going on, and this is the way I see the world, and this is how I'm moving forward. And I respect you're looking out for me, but I got to do my thing. And as long as you keep doing that calmly and confidently, maybe she'll back off a little bit. But regardless, I mean, dude, you just can't, and it's hard. I know it's hard, but it's just like you can't let it get to you. You got to just say, okay, that's mom's opinion. She's coming from a place, probably from a really good place, but she's just wrong, and that's okay. And then you just go right on to taking care of your own business, just like you were.
Right.
And I think sometimes, sorry for interrupting, I think sometimes experience speaks loads. Do you know what I mean? If you got parents that don't want you to make the same mistakes maybe that they've done, so nobody gives you lessons in parenthood. So I think and everybody brings their children up very differently, different values, different morals. I mean, we all go to school, we all learn maths, English, etc., but we're not learn life skills, so to speak.
100%. And I think some of these interpersonal communication skills are gigantic life skills. These kind of things of like, how do you deal with the people around you and everything like that, and like, are you like being manipulated or controlled? We never learned that, because it's like the system is about manipulating and controlling us, so why would they want us to learn about it? But the thing that I find that's like so powerful is when I run these spaces, and I think what an internal locus of control really does for you is make you resilient. And in today's day and age, especially with the pandemic and everything we're seeing, is that I think Bryce, I think we should do our next life hack space of like, when life throws you curveballs, what do you do?
Yeah,
right? That is it. Because if you have a very strong internal locus of control, then you're going to be ready for the curveballs in life. Now, if you attach your reputation to your employment or to your family and to your friends, you're not going to be able to handle the curveballs. But if you just a focus on what means the most to you is your value system and your principles, and you have a strong sense of self inside of you, you can you can rebuild from any kind of destruction or of anything. Because the weak internal locus of control is my job title is who I am, right? Tomorrow that job title can disappear, or my relationship to my uncle is who I am. Tomorrow, I mean, my uncle passed away from pancreatic cancer. That uncle can disappear. My relationship that's most important to me is like that. This is the one thing, is like to a pet that you have. That pet could like pass away, and if you banked on your whole sense of self in something that's outside of yourself, you're always going to lose.
Yeah, that is dangerous. That is dangerous. And it happens all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but to go back real quick to what you were talking about, like, with your mom and such, I finished a book recently called Relentless, and it was the guy, he was like an athletic trainer. He trained Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wayne, some of the best, mostly NBA guys, but he does other occupations and high flying people there too. And what was really interesting to me is he talks about like the three levels of people. He calls them a cooler, a closer, and then a cleaner. And the cleaner is the highest of them all. That's a guy who cleans up the mess. Like he's the closer is the guy the cooler is a guy who's kind of just defers things in a difficult situation. The closer is the guy you rely on to kind of close the job. He's good in the moment, but this cleaner is this guy even above that, and those are the Kobe Bryants and the Michael Jordans of the world. Is because not only can they handle the difficult situation and take the shot in the moment, or they're the go-to guy in the moment. It's like they even know when these moments are probably going to come about. They can see things happening in the future, and they don't need like pats on the back and things like that. It's basically like they're a coach on the court. And so there's a lot of good things in that book. But another thing that I wanted to point out is that they are all about internal locus of control. It's about their process and what they eat and their exercise routine and how they watch tape. The people who are the best of the best are meticulous at their process, but they push everything out. The Jordans, the Kobe's, all those things. They would think of all the people you got pulling on you, all the hangers on, the press, the fans, the coaches, the media, blah blah blah. And it's like, not only these guys are good, but they're like some of the greatest of the things they've ever done. And they did it even in spite of all that pressure. And the only way that they could do that is by focusing inward on themselves, their processes, and making it all. They got selfish. It's all about me executing and being the best I can be to do this thing, and everything else I don't got time for. I mean, I'm not saying you give up all your relationships and families and friends and things like that. Of course not. But it's like, you don't let things get to you because you just don't got time for it. And when you take in a process like that, it's very empowering. It's just like too much negativity, too much positivity. Whatever. I got a job to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to execute on that job. That is, and what Stoics believe is that the highest level of happiness is just executing on your own virtue, living your own truth, right? Your virtues and your principles.
Yeah, like finding that state of flow where I find when I get into like either like I travel and I explore a place that I've never been to before and it
Right.
opens my eyes of wonder, or I have a really, really good talk with someone about like here, like in a deep philosophy, that when you're in that state of flow, it's like nothing can tell you otherwise, because you feel it, that those good feelings and that sense of maybe making an impact. But even if you're not making an impact, it doesn't mean that you still shouldn't feel happy with your sense of flow.
Right, but I'm saying, my point is that you like you said, you can't tie your happiness and success to things that are just variable outside and around you, because you
Yes.
could do the right thing and not get a good result, or you could say, yeah, you could lose a job, you could have a bad investment, you could have a family member go away or reject you or something like that. Then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, now I'm a loser. You were a good guy the day before, and now you're a loser. So I'm saying you don't have a good centered view of your life and what's important, and you're relying on things outside of your control. If you know, hey, Dario, it's like, you're a good guy. You like to communicate with people at a high level. It makes you feel good. It makes them feel good. You have good rapport. You like to project a positive image and enlighten people, or spawn conversation that might lift somebody up. Just if you keep executing on those things all the time, you're unstoppable, because you're living in accordance with your values, right? And if you just practice making decisions that reinforce that, that's where your happiness is. That's where your flow comes from.
Right. 100%. And so what I'm looking at is, like, Dino sent something nice to me. He said, "What others think of me is none of my business." Right. So that's
Absolutely. Yeah. Don't take ownership of that. You don't need to.
right.
Whether they love you or hate you, it doesn't matter. I mean, ultimately, it doesn't matter, because they could change their mind. They could be lying to you. Who knows? I mean, it's like, you just got to still do your thing. You hope it's true, and you can feel good about it in the moment. But it's like, yeah, it's none of your business.
Right. So I'm probably gonna bottom line this soon. But before I say what I want to say, let's just have room for closing thoughts. So if of course if you want to. So let's see. So whoever wants to start first can just put their hands up, start speaking, and then if you don't, I'll just say something. Yeah, go ahead, Pops.
Hope everybody doing well in the space, man. Eternal Locus of control, man. you're the only one that you can control. So be one with yours. You feel me?
Yep, be one with yourself. Right. So,
I just want to say this was a great space.
thanks, Go. Yeah. So, yeah, go ahead, Bryce.
No, I said a lot too much. That's one of the things I got to work on, right? Being less verbose. But just like you got everybody in this room, hey, you got power. Just focus it inward on the things that you can. When somebody does something to you, you can affect how you respond to it. The amount of work you're going to put into the thing, where you're going to invest your time, what relationships. That's all on you. And so if you want better results that way, hey, just keep practicing and doing the best you can and live in accordance to your own values and virtues. And eventually, in the long run, man, you win.
Right. Right. So, yeah, that's I think if here to bottom line this is that do not attach yourself to something that's outside of you, and let the way that someone you know or a title that you have determine how you're going to feel throughout the day. That is a losing recipe. That's the external locus of control. Is that if tomorrow my favorite celebrity has something wrong happen, I'm going to start feeling bad because that is something that's totally outside. And so how you have like that, and then you can have the internal locus of control that's like, okay, what how am I going to deal with people saying things about me either behind my back or to my face, but I am so strong in my sense of self that I don't let that bother me. I don't, because I know that that's beyond what I can control, so that's not bothering me. And my sense of self is coming from, journaling, analysis, looking at my past through unbiased eyes, thinking of what my contributions can be, or understanding myself and where I find my happiness and how I find my happiness, and really digging deep. Is this really what I want, or is this what other people told me that I should want, but I know that I don't want it? So when was that time when I had something and I really felt that happiness, and now I know it's what I want, and even if I don't get it, at least I'm working towards it. And even if I'm not working towards it, hey, maybe it's because I had a bad day or I just don't feel like it right now. But this sense of self is for me, and nobody can take that away. And that is the internal locus of control that we're talking about here. That means if my computer breaks, if Bryce and Goat are not here tomorrow, if I was just talking to myself this entire time, if I get fired from this job that I have, if one of my family members disown me, I don't have control over that. And okay, what next? To find my happiness and to find my true friends and to find what it is. Let them fire me, disown me, let Twitter mess up my data. This is my internal locus of control, and no one's messing with that.
Yeah, and when you can say, I'll just say, when you can say that like you say, just said it and mean it all the time, you're impenetrable. I mean, you're undefeatable at that point.
Right. Yeah. It is, but you feel that. It's so hard to feel it though, because if I come on Saturday and the guy just says like, "Oh, it turns out that we hired extra and we don't want you anymore," it's like, like when I was going through that stuff with actually losing the data, and actually, yeah, easier said than done.
No,
Right?
yeah, you would hurt it. You would. your
Right.
initial you would hurt in that moment, but then you could recess to your process and just go through those things you just said and quickly recover and then move on.
Right. That and that's fine. Remember, I sent you that Twitter message with all that frustration, and right after I did that, that's what I wrote down. It was the most important thing that I wrote down, because remember, you'll have times when you lose it and you feel totally out of control, like you just want to break something, but then no matter how it's like the equilibrium will actually come. You start resting your head on a pillow and thinking about, like, what are the next steps, and then tomorrow you'll be in another situation that has absolutely nothing to do with it, and it'll just be talking about something else, and it hits that, and then once you're after that equilibrium stage, then you can just go back into the planning stage. So it's so wonderful. It's like it can be boiled down into a science of like first principles and everything like that. Well, anyway, yeah. So on that note, you know, like last time I had this space, more people were jumping in, more people were participating and talking and explaining and thing. And I think I may have lost that data, but that doesn't matter, because whether this iteration or that other iteration of the past, if whatever it is, it's still, I know that this can be replicated, and even if it couldn't be replicated, I know my own worth, I know my own intelligence, and I know my own persistence, and I'm happy for that. All right. Good night, yeah, go ahead, go.
I was just gonna say, bro, like it's gonna grow. You feel me? It's just a matter of like we just got to reach out to more people. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
really all. That's all it could take,
Exactly.
bro.
But also in the internal locus control world, even if it didn't grow, it's like something else would grow, something else would hit, something else. And in the worst of worst situations, even if that didn't happen, I have a friendship with a person like Bryce and Goat that I know is like amazing. And even if I lost your friendships, I know I can make those bonds again, which, won't, but that's it. And I think same thing goes for you two. If you lost my friendship, if all of a sudden, like, I don't know, like something happened to me and like something like, that we can always rebuild. So, but I think since we know this, that makes our bonds even that much stronger and that much more meaningful.
Definitely, bro. Again, great space, and I'm glad that there was a decent turnout because people did stop through, whether they
Yeah,
spoke or not. They did stop through, so that was nice.
yeah,
But we just got to reach out to more people.
yeah, for sure. Okay, great. I will hopefully I have this recorded and I will put it on the town halls on Anchor. All right, good night, everybody. Thanks for joining.